Hello, everybody. My name is Kyle McMahon, and welcome back to the first installment of the Art History Video Essays. Today, we're going to be talking about one of the forefronts of the artistic movement in the 20th century, Pablo Picasso. Contrary to his personal life, which I'd like to say, yes, he was a terrible, terrible human being, terrible person, extremely misogynistic. Obviously, do not condone that whatsoever. So today I'm mainly just focusing on the art that he created and what inspired him to, make that art. Without further ado, let's get started. So here we go. Pablo Picasso was born in Malaga, España, to Jose Ruiz Blasco and Maria Picasso. His family was a part of the middle class. They did very, very well for the late 19th century. His father was a drawing teacher at the Malaga School of Arts, and his mom stayed home as a housewife to take care of the children. So Picasso's early love for art began because of his father, because he saw him working at a museum and also at a artistic institution. That kind of inspired him to, go out and explore art in a different way than many other children were exposed at the time. It is very well known that Picasso hated his school. He didn't like learning. He was constantly being caught doodling, drawing on the desk, drawing on paper, doing whatever he could to, express himself through an artistic way, whether that was drawing or doodling or stuff like that. He really, really valued being artistic. His first ever work, The Little Yellow Picador, it's very childish in its nature, and I feel like a lot of people could draw that, but you have to remember that he was, I think, 7 years old at the time. There's not much meaning behind it. He was a kid who wanted to draw. We see a guy on the horse with a yellow jacket. Yeah, it makes sense that this is one of the most premature pieces of art that he made. So eventually the museum that Picasso's father worked at closed down. It forced him and his family to move to Coruna, Spain. There he was enrolled into Institut de la Guarda, where he still had no interest at. It was a mainly academic school, so, all he wanted to do was art. At the same time that they were moving from Malaga to Coruna, his sister fell ill with diphtheria and passed away at the age of 7. This is when we really begin to see the inspirations of his art come to life, and this resonated with him for the rest of his life. While he was enrolled in this institution, he was taking local drawing classes at the fine art schools in Coruna, just improving and, just furthering his interest with art. He switched from different mediums, instead of pencil, he was using pastels and paint. His sister's death really, really resonated with him, and we see that throughout the years. There's the same iteration of this painting, The Barefoot Girl. It's the first incarnation of his historic and classic seated woman. Many theorize that the woman in the photo is his sister, who passed away, and we see the same painting, different styles, and it's crazy to think how much of an impact his sister's death really did have on Picasso. So we also see another painting that was made in 1895, The Man with a Cap. This also continues to resonate in his progression as an artist throughout his different time periods. Many don't know what it means. Many haven't come up with a reason why it's a man with a hat. Eventually, his father was forced to get a new job. This time they moved to Barcelona, and now, instead of being enrolled in a traditional educational institution, Picasso was enrolled into the City School of Fine Arts, La Lonya, which was right in Barcelona. Once they made the switch to Barcelona, this is when Picasso's, so-called childish paintings came to an end. In 1897, he created one of his most well-known works when he was younger, called Science and Clarity. The thing that was so interesting about this piece is the subject matter wasn't of high-ranking or, wealthy, affluent individuals. It was the normal civilians. It was a daughter of a, working husband and wife who was on her deathbed. She was sick. And it really honed into the normalcy and what most people during this time had felt. This piece ended up winning many, many awards, landing him a gold medal at the provincial exhibit in Malaga, where he grew up and was born. And then, this kind of started his career, gave him a reputation. Yeah, and this is where we really see his art career really explode. Once his education is over, he decided to move to Paris in 1899 because it seemed like the epicenter of art. Very young, he's only 19 years old, and he spent his time painting in a local studio owned by painter Isidore Nonel. And, he's just building, trying to create a reputation for himself in a new place. Although he moved to this new place and was hoping to learn, we see a big shift in his art. His lifelong friend, Carlos Casamigas, committed suicide by a self-inflicted gun wound. And to be honest, his art career wasn't going the best. He was in constant poverty. We see this depression and grief through his artwork. So here we have The Blue Guitarist, which was created at the height of the Blue period. This painting depicts a blind man whose thin and decrepit body composition immediately makes the viewer uncomfortable. Many art historians suggest that the depiction of the man in the painting is, Picasso himself. It's him grieving the loss of his friend who he had so many fond memories with, and the poverty mixed with the grief and the desire to want to be better. It all fell on Picasso so fast, and we see this with the blue hues and the subject matter that's painted. It's so sullen and so dull, and it directly aligns with what Picasso was feeling in that exact moment. Regardless of the intentions of his paintings, it's clear that Picasso was in a horrible place when these paintings were made. The technique, the technique of his paintings being shrouded in blue. As this continues throughout, we see more paintings. The Blue Room, also a very iconic Blue period painting. We see a self-portrait of him during the Blue period, which is also a super, super iconic painting. And this lasted for so long. We see these blues, we see the terrible state of mind he is in, and we only get to see a switch of this subject matter when he meets Fernanda Olivier in Paris, who eventually becomes his muse and his inspiration for a lot of his art during the Rose period. Pablo Picasso's art will forever be ingrained in history. His early promise in his childhood was used to create a successful career in the future. Although there are so many other periods I can get to, like the Rose period, the Cubism period, the Surrealism period, I really wanted to focus on the early artworks that he made and what inspired those artworks. Like I said, Pablo Picasso will forever be remembered. His art is monumental, inspirational, and innovative, and he'll be remembered forever.